Here we are at lesson 6. Welcome back. Now in this lesson we're going to continue to learn some more complicated lead phrases. We're also going to examine the scale in a little more detail and include certain notes that you can throw in to add to your phrases as you move along. Now a quick look at the G blues scale again, slide scale. It is actually a blues scale too. We've got the root note or the G at the top, then we go down to the 15th fret, 12th, 10th, that's all on the first string, and then we go 12th on the second, and then we cut across here to the 12th. Now you've noticed we've been sliding from the 10th fret, second string, up like that. Now you can throw in these little extra notes that are in between the frets. For example, this note here, this note here, and of course the note in the scale. So we have... Now I was just playing, and of course it's these little notes. For example, when you go from this note here, the B flat on the 11th fret, gives you a very minor sound. If I was playing a blues phrase without the slide, you can hear that's the typical, what's called a minor pentatonic blues phrase, because I'm hitting the note which is a minor third above the root. That makes it sound minor as opposed to a major third, which would be at the 12th fret, which gives it a major happy sound. If I hit them as a little two-note chord, we have the major third, the root and the major third. Sounds rather jolly or happy. And here we have the minor third, which of course sounds minor and a little bit sad. So one of the tricks with slide, of course, is to throw in typical things like slide from the major to the minor and then to the root, like that. And you can also include the second note of the scale here, which tends to give you more of a country type flavor. So we can use the second note in the scale if we want a country style of phrasing, but we'll do more about that later on. But let's take a look at some licks now that incorporate the minor third and also this note here, which is the flatted, this note here on the 11th fret. We're going to slide from the 12th to the 11th. So we'll take a look at these now. Now the tricky thing is, if you do a slide back, now I'm going to start with the second string at the 12th fret. If you slide back, I'm going to illustrate this with my fingers first for clarity. If you slide back like that to the 12th fret, as you're sliding, you're also dragging the tones from the third string because your slide is covering it. So one of the tricks is to mute the third string with the right hand, with the right hand thumb. Now we're going to take a look at the right hand and see how this is done. Now although I've got my pick between my thumb and finger, one trick, if you're used to using the pick, is to put the pick between the index and middle finger. Just sit it like that so that you can use your thumb, which you're going to place on the third string, like this. So your index finger will be playing the second string and your thumb will be playing the third string. Now here's the phrase. Here it is again. Like that. Now what you have to do is the thumb plays the third string. When you hit the second string, the thumb comes straight back onto the third string and mutes the third string out, so that when you slide back with the slide from the 12th to the 11th fret, you're not picking up any tones from the third string. Listen to what happens if I lift my thumb off. You can hear those other tones being generated. So here we go. Like that. So you can practice doing that. It's very, very tricky to do. It's almost impossible to do with the pick. You might think that you'd be able to hit the third string with the pick, and as soon as you go to the second string, mute the third string, but unfortunately the strings are so near to each other, it's quite hard to carry that off. It's very awkward. You end up sliding all over the place. Another possibility, which isn't quite as effective but a little bit better than the one I've just shown you, is to go with the pick first and then try and mute the third string with the pick by placing the pick on it. But even that's difficult, so really in this case, and this is such a cool sounding slide phrase, I would highly recommend that if you are using a pick, tuck it away between your first and middle finger and then play it like this. Thumb with the third string. As soon as you play the second string, put the thumb straight back onto that third string. So thumb first, third string played, second string, and then mute. That's the action you want to practice right there. And then, of course, you're not obliged to go. You can just do one of the slide backs, like, then slide back up with vibrato. And that's very effective. And then you can round it off by dropping back to the 10th fret and including that other note we discussed, like that. So here it is again. Now, we're going to do a similar sounding phrase, but this time on the second and first string. Let's take a look at this. Now, here we go again. It's going to be an identical kind of movement, but we're going to do it like this. I'll illustrate it first with my fingers. It's really the 12th fret second string, and then of course the slide would move, the slide's in place already, but then you would hit the first string, and that note at the 12th fret is a D, which is the 5th note above G in the scale, and you play what's called the flatted 5th to the 11th fret, so it's really moving from back like that, but it's the same right hand action again with the pick, tucked away between the first and middle finger and the thumb and index finger working together like this. And you've got to be really careful, once again, that as soon as you pick the first string with the index finger, the thumb is right in place to dampen down any tones from the second string, so that you can slide back without dragging those two notes back to the 11th fret at the same time. You don't want that effect. So here we are. And then you can go, if you want to round it off. Another typical slide effect is the rake, which you can do with a pick, like that, or you can do it with your thumb and fingers, which is a typical roll technique from classical guitar, only in this case you would go like that. Now, the difficulty with using the pick is that when you rake down, a rake is a term given for when you quickly, rapidly go through the strings with the pick like that. When you do a rake, you want to rake all the way down to the second string, and the pick leans through the strings and comes to rest on the first string. And you just angle the slide back so that you're pitching that note there at the 11th fret. And then bring it back up. Now, of course, with that method, with the pick, it's actually a lot easier than with the thumb and the fingers, but there's really no way you can mute these strings. You can't mute them with the thumb, it's too rapid. But when you use your thumb and fingers like this, you can put the thumb down on the 5th, 4th and 3rd string just as you begin your slide back, and then it creates that nice clean effect of sliding back and then back up. So it slides from the 12th fret to the 11th and then back up. One more time. And here it is with the pick. You get more of a Hawaiian sound if you use a pick. Now, those leads I've taught you are rather difficult to accomplish, especially with the dampening down with the thumb and the finger. Now I'm going to show you how to play the same things but over the other chords we've looked at so far in the course. Let's take a look at this now. Okay, I'm at the 12th fret and I'm going to demonstrate that one phrase we've just finished learning. Now from there you can move down to the 7th fret and do the same phrase here. So that's really a nice effective thing to do. And then remember you can play that little in-between note from the 6th fret down to the 5th, and I'm playing just the 3rd and 2nd string, so we have. And of course you can play it as a chord, or you can break it up like that, so we have. And here you can do the same thing. Whoops, little slip again. And back to the 12th. I'm also going to point out something too about using a slide, and that is you're not really limited to all the frets down here. Basically, if you want to, you can slide way beyond the frets. It's very difficult to pitch the note accurately because you have no visual clue fret-wise as to where to end the slide, but it's quite possible to continue along down here. And in keeping with that concept, I should also point out that you can go from the 12th fret, which is our G, and we can slide from the 15th up to the 17th, and then back, then to the 19th fret, to the 15th, and then back to the 12th again. Now, to round off this lesson, I'm going to take you down to the 17th, 19th and 12th frets of the guitar where the slide goes for these new chords and show you some little tiny phrases you can throw in there. Now, remember the slide which went up to the 12th fret? Like that. And remember how you can do the same thing sliding to the 15th? Again, for reference, here is the finger on the 15th fret. And you can just drop this back either as a series of chords, which is like only with a slide, or as a series of picked notes like that. Just like that. And of course when you move down here to the 17th fret, you can use the same things. It's a little harder to play those blues phrases though this high up, but they still work. And then the same thing, same idea when you're going way down to the 19th fret. Whoops. You can see I made a mistake there. It's quite hard to be exactly accurate unless you're paying strict attention to get the slide down over these frets, because as you can see the frets are very, very close together in this part of the neck compared to the other end of the neck. So we have Well, I'd like to close by wishing you all the very best of luck in practicing those phrases, and particularly being accurate when you're sliding down to those very high chords along the neck. Now, I'll see you again in Lesson 7. In the meantime, practice and the best of luck.